On a fantastic Monday evening. Welcome to Night Traxx Radio. On today's artist spotlight, of course, three-time Grammy nominated singer, songwriter, and Dove Award winner, the captivating Crystal Lewis. New hit single, of course, They Say It's Spring from her 2022 album. My goodness. Follow up, Together We Can. Thank you, my queen, for joining us this evening.
You're so welcome. Thank you. Always a pleasure.
I have listened to this single over and over again, and I'm going to tell you something. You've always been known as a gospel artist, but the music that you've been making recently, especially with the new single, They Said It's Spring, is taking me back to the 1930s. It's taking me back to the big band era. I'm talking about when I listen to the song, it sounds so familiar, like Helen Ford. She was the lead vocalist for Benny Goodman and also for Harry James back in the 30s, as far as the big band swing era. And this is what it reminds me of. And I'm going to ask you, are we in some type of time warp right now? What's really
It's possible. I believe in that sort of thing. Sure.
I mean, it's completely different because people that are not familiar with Crystal, shame on you, is that 20 years, 15, 20 years ago, I had a completely different look, long hair. And now I'm looking at her now. You remind me of a vocalist during the big band era. Your attitude, your vocal range is completely different. It seems as though that you have I'm not going to say completely stepped away from gospel music, but it seems as though you're making a strong transition, focusing more on stand as.
Yes. So, okay. First of all, I want to just say that so I grew up in the church. My dad was a pastor. My mother was this extraordinary musician that could literally play anything for anyone. Um, she was my primary musical influence from the earliest age. And even though I grew up in that environment, um, my parents were so great about allowing different genres of music to filter through our home. And that was not the case with all of my pastor's kid friends. I've met a lot of people over the years who've said, "Oh, I wasn't allowed to listen to anything except you." And I'm like, I'm
Right.
so like, thank you on the one hand, but also there's such a deep well of music and creativity to influence our lives that's not bad, you know?
Right.
I'm really grateful to my parents for allowing me to experiment with listening to lots of different things. And so at a really young age, I fell deeply in love with specifically Billie Holiday, but also all these other artists like Ella Fitzgerald and Aretha Franklin and Michael Jackson, of course. And so it was this really interesting mix of genres and sounds. And so that has always been at the forefront of what I've created. I think I used to get in, I shouldn't say I used to get in. I got in a couple of arguments uh, in my career with music higher ups, with label executives who were like, "Can we just find a thing for you? Can we just
Right.
find out where you stay?" And I'm like, "No, and it's not from a place of rebellion per se. It's just innate to who I am and what I like and the way that I've lived my life in this adventurous sort of space, and that plays into the hair and the vibe and the look. I I must have changed my hair as often as I moved, and I've moved more to I've lost count. And I don't know, it's just something that I've always really gravitated toward is this change. I always say I'm a change advocate. I'm an advocate for change because I love the idea of evolution. And that plays out musically, it plays out in fashion, it plays out in hair and makeup and all of that. And I'm not saying everybody should do it or that's the way people should do things. I'm kind of envious sometimes of people who are like, this is my thing. This is the house I'm going to live in. This, that's admirable to a certain degree. I have a shorter attention span than that. And
Right.
so it's just how things kind of have played out for me, and I like it. So
And we spoke about this last time about relationships, business and personal, because when you're such a free spirit, a lot of people are afraid. They're afraid to evolve. They're afraid to try something new. They become somewhat comfortable in the space they're in. And I've seen from you over the years, you love challenging yourself. You love the idea of trying something new and not being mundane. And it comes across in your style, your persona, the way you dress, your hair, your musical taste. It's a beautiful thing. What do your daughters think about it?
well, thank you. First of all, for saying that. I really appreciate it. I think I said this last time too. I feel that you have so much insight. You're very perceptive and intuitive, and I oddly feel very known by you, and I think that's really sweet. So thank you. So I have a son and a daughter.
Okay.
My son is married and has 3 kids, and they live in Montana.
Okay.
And then my daughter lives here in Southern California in Los Angeles, not too far from me. Um, my daughter loves it. I don't know that my son has an opinion, to be honest, but for sure my daughter digs it, and we're so different in so many ways, and yet we're extremely compatible, and she has a deep appreciation for my path and my growth, and how I've gotten to where I am. And so I'm really grateful that she is she is also a very intuitive, perceptive person. And so, like, I breathe a little weird, and she's like, "What's wrong?
What's wrong? Yeah.
No, she just is in tune. We're in tune, and I love that.
I want to talk about age, growth, experience, and the things that have made you a better person. What is the difference between Crystal Lewis today and comparing Crystal Lewis 20 years ago?
Oh, gosh, probably there's so many. Um, I think, I mean, that's a hard question to answer because, um, I mean, you sort of answered it. It is age that kind of makes the difference. It helps you to step into awareness. I think that's a big part of the changes for me, and the evolution is becoming less and less afraid as I've gotten
Right.
older. And that means being less afraid to ask questions about life, about faith, about upbringing, about everybody else telling you what you should do, and the reality of becoming aware that you've been carrying other people's expectations for so long, and then you don't really know what your own expectations are all of a sudden, and so then you have to throw off other people's uh, the obligation that you've put on yourself to meet other people's expectations, and figure out how to navigate that. You know,
Right.
it's delicate for sure. But I think I'm wiser. I think I'm braver. I think I'm less afraid too, because sometimes you don't have to be not afraid to be brave. Uh,
Right.
but I do think I'm also less afraid, and
Without question.
you know,
It
and
shows.
having grown kids and grandkids, and being single. Like, I was married for a really long time, and I was married as a really young person, a teenager, and it's it took a lot of my growth has been exponential only in the last few years, as I have had the opportunity to kind of just come into myself. And that's not I'm not divorce is sad and frustrating and can be very devastating, and it can also be very healing and very good. And it just depends on the situation. And I'm very grateful that I have a wonderful family, my now ex-husband included. He's a wonderful person, and we're all very amicable, and have moved forward accordingly. Not that it's easy, but it can be done.
I remember you telling me that one of the most challenging things are to begin with, as you just stated earlier, when people have certain expectations, when they want to paint you and put you in a box, not just as far as an artist, but just as a person. I know being married or being in any kind of committed relationship can be challenging because each other has expectations on one another, what they expect from you. And I think one of the most challenging parts is when you start growing into the person that you were meant to be. And I see that in you. I mean, I really just your whole attitude, your behavior, the way that you look at things, the way that you speak, your live performances are completely different. You have such a loving relationship with the audience when you're performing live. That's something that I really didn't see years ago. How do you feel about that overall transition, growing into the person that Crystal Lewis is today?
I love it. And I would say, 10 years ago or 15 years ago, I wouldn't be able to look at this and think those things that you just said. But now, it being able
Right.
to kind of look back, I can absolutely say, when you say I have a loving relationship with the audience, I thought you were going to say you have a loving relationship with yourself. And I think that's something I've developed and am in the process of
Okay.
continuing to develop. And that's what enables me to have such a loving relationship with my audience too, is that I I don't know, I can see myself in them, I think, better today than I could before. I think um, part of that is this shift in thinking that, having grown up in the church and grown up in a very Christian community bubble, really, if you will, and being taught such hard, divisive lines are important. Like, always, it was very us and them, and to have come to a place now for myself where I just am like, it's us. It's
Right.
it's just us, instead of me and you. It's like, I love that part of the evolution, that it's more of a community. It binds us together as humans, as opposed to really living my life looking for the differences. I'm looking more for the similarities, if that makes sense.
Oh, absolutely. It's funny. I look back when you came in at a time where quote unquote gospel music started to become very secular music. And you had a lot of hardcore, quote unquote, Christians that were not trying to hear that. They didn't want to hear, like you said, it's us and it's them. And they had that mentality. And I'm like, especially when you worked on that project with Kirk Franklin, which was an incredible project. And during that time, you had Kirk Franklin, of course, yourself, Daryl Coley, God rest his soul. You had all these fantastic artists, BB and CC Winans, secular music. And what I seen was you started to have a lot more young people come to the church. And I'm saying at the end of the day, this is what we want. This is what we're looking for. Unity, not us against them, but we're all people. We're all
Yeah.
God's children. And I still get that. Even though you're doing jazz, I still get that connection when you're doing music. Now, I gotta ask, I know you just put out an album last year. You have the new single out, of course. They say it's spring. When can I expect another album this year? You can't tease me with a slice of cheesecake.
Okay. Okay, here's my plan. Um,
Okay.
my plan was not to do new music this soon after the last
Really?
came out. It hasn't even been a year. It hasn't even been
Right.
an entire year since Together We Can was released. Um, but a weird thing that's happened to me over the last couple years is that there's been a handful of times where I have been inspired visually first, and then the music has come after, as opposed to, making a record and then thinking, what is this cover going to look like? I've I have just found myself in a place where I've the visuals first and the music.
Right.
So,
Right.
in September, I think it was last September, two girlfriends of mine and I, one's a photographer, one is a set designer and florist, and we were just chatting. We've done a lot of work together in the past, and one of them said, let's do something, let's do a shoot. And I was like, okay. And we just started throwing ideas at the wall, and we wound up with these photos of me and this vintage Vespa with a sidecar, and it just snowballed. We filled the sidecar with flowers, and we did all this crazy stuff for spring, and then we filled it with all kinds of summer stuff, and then we did fall, and then we did winter, all in one day. And I thought, what the heck am I going to do with these pictures? Like, I don't want to just post them on social media for no reason.
Right.
And so I thought, okay, I'm going to do music that go along with these photos. So that's what we've done. I have basically, by the end of the year, to specifically answer your actual question, by the end of the year, you will have 12 songs. That's not true. By February of 2024,
Okay.
12 songs. So it's 4 EPs, one for each season.
Okay. Okay.
Songs on each EP, 2 covers and 1 original. And we're releasing the songs once a month. So they say spring was first. Is it next week?
Yeah.
2 weeks, the next song comes out.
Okay.
There will be one in May, and then that'll be the spring collection. And then the summer collection will be released June, July, August, and so forth. So you get one a month.
One a month.
Until the end of winter next year.
Okay. I'm patient. I can wait. A lot of my listeners wanted me to ask you, can we foresee somewhere down the line Crystal Lewis back in the studio putting together another gospel album?
I don't know. I don't think that far ahead. I never say never. I know to not say that. Last month, in March, I did a Sunday morning gospel brunch at Spaghetti
Okay.
here in Southern California with an incredibly beautiful man. His name is Terry Steele. He has a Luther Vandross tribute show that he does. He wrote a bunch of material for Luther back in the day, and he's just this beautiful man. And he was doing this gospel brunch, and he had me come do it with him, and we had so much fun. So we're thinking about doing that a little more often. We'll see. Obviously, that's my roots too. Gospel is my roots too.
Right.
And so there's a special place in my heart for that. It hasn't materialized yet, if it's going to. So
Right.
we'll see. I don't know. Sometimes these things just happen in the moment, and
Right.
I'm not doing I don't have a 10-year plan.
Right. But you know what? That's a beautiful thing because you're not planning anything.
Yeah,
You're going by what you're feeling, and everything is coming to you now from an organic place, which definitely is a beautiful thing. Speaking of organic place, make sure everyone go out, get the new single, of course. They say it's spring. You have to go do that. And to get all the pertinent information, make sure you go by Crystal's official website. That's at www.crystallewis.com. And also, well, Teddy Bear, when can we see her perform? I'm glad you asked. On May the 4th, she's going to be at Herb Albert's Vibrato Grill and Jazz Club. That's on May the 4th. All the ticket information, go to www.vibratogrilljazz.com. And also the telephone number is area code 310-474-9400. When are you coming to Texas to perform? We have
I
all these venues down here.
I know I need to. I'm an independent. I don't have a team. I like have a couple volunteers that help me do a few things here and there, but I don't have a booking agent, so it's just me. So I'm working on it. I'll be in New York in September. I'll be in Milwaukee in August, and that feels so exciting to be getting out of Southern California. So Texas is high on my list. I promise you. I'm working on it. I really am. So
Because you would really blow them away at the House of Blues. It would be the perfect venue for you. And I wanted to ask you this, and I didn't get a chance last time to ask you this question. If a new artist and they were coming to you to pick your brain and they would ask you, Miss Lewis, what do you recommend? Do I stay an independent artist or do I sign with a major label? What would you tell them?
There are pros and cons to both, really.
Right.
It really just depends on what you want, what you're willing to give up. You give up a lot either way. You really do. You can give up control, or you can give up, I was going to say money as an independent artist, but honestly, it's not like it's not a guaranteed big money maker either way. Let me assure you. It really is up in the air. I do one-on-one vocal coaching through my website. And I have a client, we just wrapped a series of sessions and she's a younger girl and she's in this moment exactly that you're saying. Her parents are like, what do we do? And I'm like, I don't know. I mean, I wish there was a blueprint. I wish there was a map that we could each follow that would get us where we want to go. But the reality is that we just have to put one foot in front of the other and make the next hard decision and take the next step and see where it leads. And trust the process, because there's no one way. There's no right or wrong way to do it. It's what's the best for you today, right now,
This is true. The funny thing is, every artist that I've had the pleasure of conversing with, that at one particular time or another in their career, when they were signed to a major label, they said, Teddy Bear, the biggest adjustment is that when I was on a label, I had everyone doing everything for me, from hairdressing to clothes to stylists, you name it. I didn't have to worry or be concerned about anything. But now, being an independent artist, I'm in complete control of what I do. And that artist said, you know what? I'm fine with that, because now I'm not being boxed in. I can do what I want to do. I know where the money is going. I don't have to pay back anything back to the label. I have a studio in my home, so whenever I'm feeling, I can vibe and do what I want to do. Is there any particular producer that you would like to work with?
Ooh. That's such a good question. I don't know. A specific name doesn't come to mind at the moment, but it's real hard for me to do the same thing over and over and over again. So I would assume that moving forward, as much as I absolutely adore my producer, Tony Guerrero, who we've made the last several things with, I could see us doing separate things for a minute before we came, back together, because I don't know, there's music that there's fringe kinds of jazz that's a little more soul leaning that I would love to explore. So we'll see. Obviously, right now I'm just like really loving the very traditional kind of straight ahead. They say it's springtime vibe. So
yeah, like I said, when I listened to the song, I said, wait a minute. I'm like, okay, we're going back to the 30s, the big band swing era. I'm like, okay, and I'm listening to it. And as I said, and for the listeners out there, if you're not familiar with Helen Forrest. Please go look her up. She was an exceptional vocalist. Again, with Benny Goodman and Harry James. You definitely need to go check her out.
I'm gonna
And
go do that after this.
you have to, Crystal, when you go listen to her, I'm telling you, when you listen to her sing, she's going to remind you so much of yourself. I'm
Oh, I
telling
love
you.
that.
I'm telling you. Listen, again, I'm like, wait a minute. They sound just alike, but that was a wonderful era of
Yeah,
music. That's why I said I feel like that you were meant to be in a different time. I believe that's your.
I'm on board.
Now, I seen something else that was brought to my attention, and I can't really speak on because I know men don't go through it. But I wanted to ask you. They were asking me about this. Do you have this? I guess you want to call it a seminar coming up, and it was concerning about hot flashes, menopause,
Yeah.
age, and I'm like, okay. I said, okay.
Oh, okay. So I'm 53. I did not have any conversations with my mother prior to her uh, illness. My mom had Alzheimer's and she passed away last year, and so she had Alzheimer's for quite a while. So
Okay.
I haven't been able to have a real conversation with her for a long time. So unfortunately, a lot of that information just was lost to me. We didn't get to talk about what to expect when I turned
Right.
50 or late 40s or whatever. And I just kind of let it go. And all of a sudden, I'm finding myself in this place of like, oh my gosh, I am a half a century old. And I am experiencing things physically that are not comfortable. And there's some pluses to getting older too. I mean,
Oh yes.
it's not all, bad, but it is a common, very consistent thing, obviously, among women. And I'm just realizing that there are women in their 20s and 30s who are experiencing things that I didn't experience. There are women in their 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s who have already experienced these things. And my goodness, can we ever benefit from having conversations around this and learning more about each other's experiences and being able to help each other along in as we navigate this. And so I thought it was funny to call it hot flash and spell it HATE. I'm figuring out how to do this, have a hot flash, but with fashion, So
Right.
um so I'm having it is like a seminar because I do have a panel of women to do a Q&A, and I have a holistic doctor who's coming and a fitness nutritionist gal who's coming, and I have a girl in her 20s who's already had a hysterectomy.
Wow.
I have two dear friends in their 70s who I've just known for a very long time, who have been sort of mentors to me. And we're having a traditional lunch tea around a big table. And we're just going to have questions and conversation. And I've never done it before. This is not a musical thing. There's no music happening. It's just food and conversation, which, I mean, I think it's going to be great. I'm very excited. That's May 13th, the day before Mother's Day. And it's in Orange County, California, and all the information and tickets are available on my website. So
I said, I gotta ask. I said, because we as men, we have a tendency to micromanage everything, and we're still just trying to understand.
well, I actually I was thinking earlier today, uh, I probably need to do this again and have it open to men, because I've specified this is for women only,
Right.
whatever. But honestly, it's a really good idea because we're experiencing it and we are going through it, but our partners, our brothers, our fathers are, it's foreign to them. And
Right.
I think it would be a really good, helpful thing to develop and deepen some understanding uh, within the relationships there. So
I
give
think that.
for thought.
I think that would be a wonderful idea because I tell people all the time women have so many different layers to their personality. And I think it makes a healthier relationship when you have a better understanding of what they're of what of what they're going through and what they are experiencing. So, family, remember, go to Crystal's official website to get all the pertinent information. It's in Orange County. You say, well, Teddy Bear, how are we getting there? Planes, trains, automobiles. If you have to get on the Campbell, make sure you get to, to get to Orange County. But before you do that, again, make sure pick up the new hit single. They say it's spring, and also her fantastic album from 2022. Together we can. My love, first and foremost, thank you for blessing us again, joining us on the show. You know the Teddy Bear has nothing but love for you. Whatever you need, please do not hesitate to let me know. And whenever you perform, you know what? I know what I'm going to do. I know what I'm going to do.
Oh, what?
I'm going to see. It's going to be a push, but I'm going to see if I can make it down to the Jazz Club on May 4th to see you perform live. I I have to see you. I have to see you do your thing. I have not, and I'll be honest. I have not seen you perform live. It's been a minute. It's been a long. It's been a long time. So I'm looking forward to seeing you perform live. But again, whatever you need, please do not hesitate to let me know. Okay.
Thank you so much. It really is always a joy. I'm so grateful, truly.
No, the pleasure is all mine. Remember, family, make sure you follow and keep all the latest updates with Crystal. You can catch up with her on Instagram. That's at Instagram.com/The Crystal Lewis. Same thing on Facebook. And be sure to catch up with her on her official websites and get all the information. And again, on May the 4th, she'll be performing at Herb Albert's Vibrato Grill and Jazz Club. That's at area code 310 474 9400. And address is 2930 Beverly Glen Circle. Go there, dress to impress, get some food, listen to some beautiful music. Lord have mercy. Thank you, my queen.
Thank you so much.
My pleasure. The fantastic and Lord have mercy, the electrifying Miss Crystal Lewis here on Night Traxx Radio. It's a beautiful thing. It's been a beautiful evening. My goodness. I want to thank everybody for tuning in and allowing the Teddy Bear to help you tune out all the negativity that we're experiencing in this society, but it's all right. I got you here, safe and sound. And we'll be back on live actually this coming Wednesday with Grammy Award winner, singer, songwriter, and also I got some, you know what? The way you're going to find out, you got to tune in. We'll be on we'll be on Wednesday. That's 4 p.m. Pacific, 6 p.m. Central, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And to get all the latest updates, make sure you let your fingers do the walking. Stop by our official website. That would be on Instagram. That's at Instagram.com/LOTL, the Comfort Zone Radio. Also, make sure you follow us on TikTok on Night Traxx. That's Night Traxx Radio on TikTok. And we're also on Facebook. Be sure to subscribe to our Facebook. Follow us on our Facebook page. That's at Facebook.com/LOTL Radio, The Zone. And yes, we do have a YouTube channel. Yes, we do. Lord have mercy. That's at YouTube.com/Night Traxx Music Podcast. Again, that's Night Traxx Music Podcast. And to all who have tuned in, thank you so much. Without you, there's no Teddy Bear, Mr. Rated Extraordinaire. As in always, keep it soulful here on Night Traxx Radio.